Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
So good morning. At the outset, I'd like to begin by thanking the organizers, Professor Raj, Professor Sanjay and Professor Ashwini for extending a kind invitation to be part of this nice gathering. It has been a pleasure to be part of these intense research activities in theoretical chemistry. I'm going to be talking to you about developing intermolecular force field formulation, which basically involves ion-induced dipole effects. But then before I do that, let me move on to greet Professor Satyamurthy a very happy birthday in advance. Personally, I have drawn a lot of inspiration from his work, and it has been really motivating to interact with him every time. Also, on behalf of IISER Thiruvananthapuram, I would like to extend thanks to him because his contributions towards many activities in IISER system have been phenomenal, and this is an opportunity for us from IISER Thiruvananthapuram to place on record thanks to him. These are two pictures that we have taken in January 2024 during his visit to IISER Trivandrum, where he was delivering a set of lectures on reaction dynamics. And here you can see him using a model to depict the transition state theory with saddles and all that. This is the most recent picture which we took last night. Thanks to Ashwini for the picture. Now I'll go on to talk to you about briefly the focus of our research. We have been looking at modeling nanostructures, and the primary motivation for modeling nanostructures comes from the fact that methods of molecular quantum chemistry are not very efficient, while the continuum methods are not very accurate. And therefore, one has to kind of look for methodologies that can capture a reasonable amount of accuracies within reasonable amounts of computational time. And it is here that density functional theory has come up as a popular workhorse over the last 50 years or so. Alongside density functional theory, empirical approaches have also garnered a lot of attention. And it is here that our group has been exploring the development of various empirical approaches to model various phenomena involving carbon nanostructures. Just to illustrate to you a flavor of what we do in the group, we extensively use this swarm intelligence based technique which was introduced by Professor Chattaraj yesterday, a range of global optimization techniques to predict adsorption and separation features of carbon nanostructures. Here are a depiction of some of the problems that we looked at. We look at the storage capacities of atoms and molecules inside hollow, spherical and cylindrical nanostructures. We also look at one atom thick carbon membranes for separation applications. Here is a depiction of nitrogen carbon dioxide separation problem, and water clusters where we looked at permeation of water through the nano channels that are created in tri-layer graphene architectures. We also have yet another active area in the group where we look at calculating spectral features of plasmonic nanostructures, where we resort to classical electrodynamics based descriptions, which again heavily depend on development of semi-analytic approaches to calculate spectral features. But coming to today's lecture, we have talked about 100 years of quantum mechanics in the last couple of days. And yet another historical story is what I would like to bring forth to you today. In 2024, we celebrated 100 years of the formulation of the Lennard-Jones potential. And here is a beautiful paper that was written by Schwertfeger and David Wales on the contributions from the Lennard-Jones potentials in very many domains of physics and chemistry. But this is also an opportune moment for us to reflect on what the limitations of Lennard-Jones potential are and how one can improvise over those limitations by going beyond the Lennard-Jones kind of description. Let me now introduce the potential to you. As all of you know, this is the popular form of the 12-6 Lennard-Jones potential, but the generic form is what is written here. Two key parameters here. One is the depth of the potential well epsilon, and the other is the R0 term, which is the equilibrium distance. Now, the Lennard-Jones potential can also be recast in the form of two other parameters. One, of course, epsilon, which is common to both, and sigma, which is the potential, the parameter at which, or the distance at which the potential goes down to 0. So these are the two key parameters, epsilon and sigma, that come about in the Lennard-Jones potential. And over decades, mixing rules have been very popular in predicting the Lennard-Jones potential parameters for dissimilar atoms. And here when I say dissimilar atoms, if I consider I and J as two different atoms, basically the sigma and epsilon parameters for the hetero kind of interactions are governed by these mixing rules. One is the geometric mean rule, the Lorentz-Berthollet rule, and the third is the Waldman-Hegler rule. The Lorentz-Berthollet rule is the most widely used in very many molecular dynamic simulations. Now, one of the pertinent questions as we celebrate 100 years of the Lennard-Jones potential formulation is that how accurate are these potential parameters in describing complex chemical problems. So, it is here that I bring to you the idea of the improved Lennard-Jones potential, where some of the limitations that are possessed by the Lennard-Jones potential have been corrected for. One of the problems of the Lennard-Jones potential is that it is not very accurate in describing the short range as well as the long range limits of the intermolecular interactions. And here Pirani proposed an improved Lennard-Jones formulation where with the introduction of an additional parameter beta, you actually kind of soften the potential so that the accuracy in the description of the pairwise interactions gets improved. This was indeed inspired from an original work which was proposed by Maitland and Smith. The potential that was formulated by Maitland and Smith way back in 1973 was slightly different from the current formulation of the improved Lennard-Jones potential that we use today, that was put forward by Pirani. Now here, with the introduction of the extra parameter beta, we actually have no longer for the repulsive term an exponent, but an exponent that actually varies with distance. And this brings in a lot of flexibility. And in the last couple of years, we asked this question as to, are the Lennard-Jones potential parameters endowed with transferability? And as theorists would always love, we go back to the case of noble gases to understand the problem better. So here what we considered is a set of dimers of noble gases. Basically, the objective is to look at how important the anisotropy is and how poorly it is captured by the Lennard-Jones potential. So it is here that we show a comparison of the potential energy profiles of these heterodimers of noble gases, which are computed using the three mixing rules that I showed you about a minute ago. Oops, I'm going in the wrong direction. So these are the three mixing rules: geometric mean rule, Lorentz-Berthollet rule, and Waldman-Hegler rule. So these three rules, when we test against the parameters that are available in the literature, you can see that the CCSDT data is not at all captured well by the three mixing rules, which means that there is a substantial overestimation of the interaction energies by the three mixing rules. However, if we now develop a parameterization scheme using both the Lennard-Jones and the improved Lennard-Jones descriptions, we notice that the agreement is far better, as is again indicated in the bar diagram shown here. But then the errors are substantially high if we do not resort to the parameterization scheme, which means that the transferability of the Lennard-Jones potential, especially in contexts where there are anisotropic interactions that become operative, is questionable. This is actually a result that was published as part of a special issue that came up in celebration of the International Year of Quantum Science and Technology. Now moving on, we do not just confine ourselves when we describe intermolecular interactions to the case of a Lennard-Jones potential, because we often deal with chemical systems beyond noble gases, and it is here that a variety of interactions of these combinations do come into play. For example, one can think of charge, dipole, induced dipole. Of course, there are higher order terms such as quadruple, octuple, induced, quadruple, and so on. But at least in the minimalistic description, we do have to worry about many of these cross interactions that are indicated here. The green ones that are indicated here are reasonably incorporated in what we refer to as the Lennard-Jones plus electrostatic non-bonded potential. Any non-bonded interactions that we look at typically are often described in molecular dynamic simulations using this 12-6 Lennard-Jones potential as well as a point charge kind of electrostatic description. Now here, if we take a look at this particular description, the LJ plus electrostatic description, the electrostatic and dispersion interactions are well captured in this kind of a scheme. But then what about the induction based interactions, which do become important in many contexts such as solvation dynamics and electrochemical energy storage? When I say solvation dynamics, we are essentially thinking of, let us say, lithium, sodium and potassium ions that are solvated by water molecules, and it is here that ion-induced dipole interactions do become important. Yet another context in the context of electrochemical energy storage is, for example, if we are thinking about lithium ion batteries, we know that the motion of lithium ions in the battery applications on the electrode vicinity is important. And it is here that lithium and its binding to pi or conjugated systems does become important, and again here ion-induced dipole interactions do come into play. So the question is, how does one incorporate such induction interactions? This problem was looked at by Mears and co-workers and William Jorgensen and co-workers in the last decade or so, and this is motivated by the idea that ion-induced dipole interactions do have a significant role to play, and if the interactions are not accounted for, we actually lose out on a good amount of interaction energy in the description. So they propose the idea of using a 12-6-4 type Lennard-Jones non-bonded potential, which is described by these equations. So in addition to the electrostatic term and the Lennard-Jones kind of a term, we have now a distance to the power -4 kind of a dependence coming in by way of this particular functional form as well as this particular functional form. Now this was applied to the case of cation binding on benzene, and the results are what are indicated here. You can see that the dashed line that is presented here is the energetics computed using the potential without the distance to the power -4 term, and it is very clear from the profiles that there is a significant chunk of energy that we lose out without incorporating this term. So this means that any accurate description of such systems calls for the use of a more accurate empirical formalism that takes into account ion-induced dipole interactions. Now coming to the problem at hand, we have been interested over the years on these systems called graphines, which are one atom thick carbon membranes with triangular and rhombi-like porous architectures, sometimes even hexagonal porous architectures. The advantage of these one atom thick carbon membranes is that they have been shown to be very useful for water purification, gas storage and lithium ion battery kind of applications. So now the connection is obvious. We would like to understand how the lithium ions interact with these carbon membranes and how effectively can one describe them using semi-analytic approaches using the ion induction based potentials. Way back in 2013 and 2015, we had actually looked at the permeation of these alkali ions through the triangular porous architectures and rhombi-like porous architectures of these membranes. However, these were done using electronic structure methods, and we looked at the permeation of single ions through the pores. Over the years, we got a little ambitious and we wanted to look at large scale simulations using such cations. And it is here that the intermolecular force field formulation becomes very, very relevant, because if we can develop accurate intermolecular force fields that can model such problems, then we obviously have the propensity to do large scale simulations, which is prohibitive for quantum mechanical calculations. So then we started out by collecting a few model systems for these graphene based systems, and graphene is of course a benchmark that we always would like to compare with. So here is our formalism. We look at the Lennard-Jones potential as we would like to see how we can improvise starting from there. We also use the improved Lennard-Jones potential, but then importantly we now bring in the distance to the power -4 kind of a term by this kind of 12-4 LJ potential, and the same combination is also incorporated into the improved Lennard-Jones potential. Although the improved Lennard-Jones potential comes with an additional cost that we now have an extra parameter to play around with. So then what we do is we perform electronic structure calculations, use it as the benchmark and assess the parameters that are accurate using the empirical potentials. The way we go about doing this is we define an objective function, which is basically the deviation in the energies that are computed using the density functional theory as well as the atomistic potentials, and these root mean square deviations are typically weighted with the exponential term to give a bit more weightage to the minima configurations. So once the minimization is performed, here are the results. Let me first show you the results of the interaction energy profiles of various cations as they bind to the vicinity of the carbon membranes, graphene and graphenes. No surprises here. Lithium, sodium and potassium bind at positions that one would even otherwise expect. The energetics again, no surprises. But then important observation to make here is that as we go along to describe these interaction energy profiles using the 12-6 Lennard-Jones plus an electrostatic description, there are glaring differences that one sees in the potential energy profiles, particularly in the context of estimating the energy barriers as one gets closer to the vicinity of the triangular porous architecture of the carbon membrane. And it is here that capturing the energy barriers for permeation accurately becomes relevant, and this brings us to the concept of the 12-4 LJ plus EL model as well as the improved Lennard-Jones plus EL model, where we incorporate the improved Lennard-Jones formulation with the distance to the power minus 4 kind of a term. And here the results again clearly indicate that if we restrict ourselves to a Lennard-Jones kind of description, even with a distance to the power minus 4 dependence, the barriers are not at all captured well by the potential. However, if one goes down to the improved Lennard-Jones description, you see that the accuracy improves significantly, and it is here that the advantage of improved Lennard-Jones description comes to the fore. And we of course went on to analyze the pore-to-pore diffusion over graphene surfaces because we really wanted to see how far we can stretch in describing these energetics accurately for the diffusion of lithium ions in the context of lithium ion batteries. So we considered various bipore models where the lithium ions were kind of placed on a triangular pore, and then we looked at the diffusion to the next triangular pore by estimating the transition states and comparing the computed activation barriers that were evaluated using DFT with those evaluated using the empirical potentials. Although there are some deviations, the results are quite promising in the sense that the activation barriers are captured reasonably well by the two atomistic potential, which gives us the confidence that an empirical description of this kind can perhaps be incorporated into large-scale simulation packages such as GROMACS and so on. In the interest of time, I shall not get into the details of the numbers, but I will summarize the talk by saying that we have been able to develop an intermolecular force field formulation using the improved Lennard-Jones description and featuring ion-induced dipole interactions correctly to describe the ionic binding in the context of permeation and binding through carbon-based one-atom thick architectures. Now this takes us to the next question: what about the story of anions? Anions indeed, it turns out, are fairly difficult and notorious to capture using empirical potentials, primarily because if we compare the potential energy profile of a cation permeating through such a carbon pore and an anion coming in the vicinity of such a carbon pore, the problem comes about because of the centrifugal repulsion term, which brings in the idea of metastable states. And it is fairly difficult to capture such metastable states using empirical potentials. We are in the process of arriving at some interesting interpretations to this problem, but that is a story that I will reserve for another day. Just to tell you as to where we are headed, the development of density functional theory over the last 50 years or so is very elegantly embodied in Jacob's ladder of DFT, which was proposed by Jean Perdue in 2005. Analogous to this, we can think of an empirical ladder that can describe improved accuracies in intermolecular force field description, going all the way from the Lennard-Jones to various anisotropic contributions, not just in repulsion but in attractive contributions as well, by bringing in higher order multipoles, damping terms and so on. Over the last 15 years or so, our group has been striving to contribute to various rungs of these ladder of semi-empirical approaches and to improve the chemical fidelity of intermolecular force field description. And we hope to address some of the interesting problems in this direction. Before I close, I would like to thank my group for all their efforts. The work that I presented today was carried out by my student Medha, supported by Akhil, who is a 5th year BSMS student. I must also thank the funding agencies for the generous support. Finally, I would like to thank you for your attention.
Swayam Prabha, Digital India, Educated India.